Hello and welcome. I'm going to do a walkthrough today of a case from the XL World Championship semifinals called The Temple of the Golden Idol by Brian Wright. This is a super fun, interesting case, one of the nicest kind of maze twists we've seen for a while. So the idea is you have a series of different animals walking through mazes. So you can't go through the walls. You start at a flag and you have to get to a golden idol. It starts off with kind of simple straight line mazes, and the only complication is there's different terrains. So depending on which animal you are, it takes you a different. So like the eagle flies over everything in 70 seconds per unit of terrain. The frog is slower on grassland and faster in marsh and whatever. So there's different speeds that you go through different things. Then as you get further along, you get into temples that start to twist and turn. And then as you get to the last level, all the paths converge on this one chamber of golden idols at the end, and you have to get in, but you also have to get out through a different path, etc. So they gave us some instructions on this case in advance, and I read, okay, we got to solve mazes. Time started. I started building a solution to solve mazes with circular references. It's something I've done before. I've made videos about before. And then I was making some silly mistakes. Andrew was watching me. He said, "Yeah, I could really see you weren't playing your best in those first few minutes." But anyway, so I thought I would, quickly set something up that would, crack the first few levels. And then I realized that I was 4.5 minutes in, still had 0 points, and was about to get eliminated. Luckily, there was one other person still on 0 points, and I managed to kind of squeak in one bonus question, which kept me alive for 5 more minutes. And then I was up and running, and things went kind of relatively smoothly after that. I still floundered around at the end and like misunderstood things in the later levels, but it was enough to get me through. That's the main thing. I didn't get eliminated. So I will say, like I said, this is a very, very popular case. There are 4 other videos out on this case that I know of, and I think Willem is working on a 5th. So Bo Rydobon is, the ultimate authority on most elegant solutions. He's done a beautiful single cell maze solver solution. He also demonstrates how he can solve almost the entire case in like 2 minutes with one of his pre-built maze solving lambdas. Just, amazing stuff, but also very complicated. The sort of slightly more accessible version of that is Hadyn Wiseman did another non-circular version where he unravels the path step by step. So there's no branching, there's no converging or anything like that. It's all single paths, even on the ones that curve around. It's, the paths don't cross each other or anything like that, which means that some techniques that wouldn't work on more complicated mazes do work on this one. And Hadyn's is a great kind of demo of that. And then Jack Franken and Ben Guetscher both did solutions based on circular references to kind of label the paths. So like they kind of do something that labels all of these as 1, all of these as 2, all of these as 3, and so on. And then you can extract the contents of the path. That's the one that's most similar to what I'm going to do, but I have something slightly different in mind. Yeah, and then I think Willem is working on another one as well. That's almost everything to mention up front. I guess I'll also mention I've got my prepared lambdas in here. I think the only one that's really relevant right now is one called TLOOKUP. This is a two-dimensional lookup. It's inspired by, although a slightly different functionality to one that Eric Ohm made. So the idea is you give it a table that contains headers in the first row and headers in the first column, and then you give it values to look up. So let's say we're going to look up grasshopper and monkey, and you give it the row values first, and then you give it the column values. So let's say we're going to look up marsh and forest, and it'll give you the intersection of those things. But also, if I flatten these so that they're both in the same direction, it'll give me, this is going to give me grasshopper and marsh is 90, and monkey and forest is 45. So you can, depending on which way you have the data lined up, you can either get like a full intersection or you can get a series of individual points, which I find quite useful. Anything else to mention up front? No, I guess the only other thing is, just for my own amusement, I am going to try to do what I couldn't do on the day, and kind of blast through enough of the circular reference setup within 5 minutes to not get eliminated in my head. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so I'm going to start my mental timer now. Just going to do some quick naming up front. I'm going to name this table T because that's what I'm going to use for my T lookup. I'm going to name this Annie animals because there's a few questions that ask you to iterate over the animals, and then I'm just going to name each of these. So I'm going to name that W for wall, F for flag, and I for idle. It'll just make it easier to write some of the formulas without having to go grab things. So now I'm going to start my setup on temple 3 because then it'll be easier to copy it over to the others. First thing I'm going to do is just brick in all the outsides because, well, actually I should mention that. So the way I'm planning to approach it is I'm going to treat the idols as the starting point, and I'm going to count the steps out from there toward the flags. For the ones where all the paths are isolated, you could do it the other way around. You could start from the flag and count toward the idol. But for these ones, I want to count the steps on the path. So if, say, this is a short path and gets here in 80 steps, and let's say this is a long path and gets here in 100 steps, then the shortest path to this point might be taking 80 steps to here and then walking across, in which case the shortest path to this idol is not actually the path that leads into this idol, it's a different one. So if you want to get the path, the unique path that ends at that idol, even though they're all together in a chamber, then it's easier to think about it that way. Now I'm conscious that I've spent almost a minute waffling when I'm trying to get this done in 5 minutes, but never mind. Okay, so here's the core of the argument. Now you'll notice that I've gone a little bit down and a little bit to the right. That is because I'm going to reference the cells all around me, and if I do that in cell A1, that will break. Now I'm going to start with an if it's a wall, so the ones that throw in, like nothing will throw an error when I get to A1, but I got to watch out for that. So I'm pasting column widths here just as a way of selecting the area that I need, and then I'm going to come down to here, and then I'm going to say, okay, if B2 is the corresponding cell in the grid, so if that is equal to W, then I just want blank text. If it's equal to an idle, then for now I'm just going to say 0. And then I'll do a separate thing in a minute to number the paths. But right now I just want to count steps. And then otherwise I want to say the min of the 4 surrounding cells, so up, right, down, and left, plus 1. And control and enter. And now you can see that has nicely numbered all the paths. So the idols are all 0, and then we count out steps out to here. So the way I was originally So the way I solved this on the day was, rather than adding 1, I added the cost for a particular animal of taking this step. So like I looked up this grid to say, okay, each of these things takes how long for the active animal. But that meant that you had to recalculate all the circular references when the animal changed. So this time around, I'm just counting the steps, and then my thought was I could make another grid that would kind of accumulate the list of things on the path, and then I saw the kind of nice solutions that Jack and Ben came up with of numbering the paths individually, and thought actually that's much smarter. So that's what I'm going to do instead. So here for the idols, I'm going to number them as 1 plus and then a distinguishing feature. So the idea is again that I don't want to number the paths as in like these are all 1 and these are all 2 and these are all 3, because then that won't be a stable configuration when I copy it over to the other ones. So what I want to do is number the steps, but then have a sub-numbering for the path. Now I've done so much yakking, there's not a chance I'm going to get this within the 5 minutes. So I'm going to get eliminated, but never mind. That's part of the fun. So I'm going to count what idle I'm on. So we're going to count ifs. First, how many idols are in the whole row above. And sorry, that should be all the rows above, so I'll lock everything except that 1. Count if that is I, plus count ifs, what do I want, colon, $A2 to B2 is I. So that's which idle number I'm on, and then I'm going to divide that by 1,000. Control Enter, let it calculate for a second, and now if we look in closely here, let's zoom in. Then I've got 1.0001, 1.002, and then you can see we're taking steps out along, and it's all good. So now I should be able to to call that, so I'm going to say ifs. Well, let's just start with the whole grid. So I'm going to say ifs this, then this. So that'll just give me all the numbers and errors everywhere else. And then we can to call that ignoring errors. And that gives me just, oh, it's doing that weird thing again. So I think to call has some unhappy interaction with circular references, because it's only giving me like there are all these numbers here, but it's only giving me the ones that are in the idle chamber, the sort of 400 at the center of the path. Not sure why that is. I thought I had found a way to fix that, but never mind. So I'm going to call the whole thing. Just give me all my list of numbers. And then I'm going to call my contents. And then I'm going to call addresses of my contents. And then I'm going to filter each of these. So let's say filter this, where is number, this lock. So now I've got my numerical codes for the sort of 1,000, 2,500 different things that are part of the step. So I'll just call that code. Then I want to get the same thing for the contents and the address. Let's say contents and address. And then I want my path number and step number. So I've kind of combined those into one here. So the path number is going to be, well, let's do the step number first because that's easier. That's just get rid of the bit after the decimal place. And then the path number is going to be the code minus the step number times 1,000. And I've been burned by rounding errors a few times lately, so I'm just going to round all of that to 0 decimal places. And then I'm interested in getting the list of paths. So now the thing here is there are 400 different paths because there are 400 different idles, but most of those don't actually, so like this path 13 doesn't go anywhere. So I'm only interested in the ones that go somewhere. So I'm going to filter only the paths that have a second step. So I'm going to say filter path where step equals 2. So these are the 24 paths that actually lead out. And then I'm interested in the start cell, the end cell, and the contents. So the start cell, I'm going to XLOOKUP path, and it starts at a flag, so it's path and flag in path and contents, returning from address. And for the end, it's going to be the exact same thing, except instead of a flag, I'm interested in an idle, so that's where it ends. And then the contents is going to be, I'll use text join of filter this, where this equals this. Okay, sorry, many things wrong there. First, closing bracket, and second, text join. Arguments have to come first. So there's everything along that path from the flag to the idle. And then just to make this dynamic so I can copy it to the other tabs, we're going to map this list of paths, lambda path, text join, blah, 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 filter where this is equal to path. And then we've got all the different path contents. So now, if I take all of this out as far as here, yep, that's fine, copy, and then go to the exact same cell here, CZ1, and paste, and it'll spin for a second, not for that long, it'll iterate, it'll, no, I've made it mad. Why have I made it mad? Oh, sorry, because I haven't bricked this one in. That's why it's erroring out, because I had surrounded the other one with bricks. Okay, and now there's errors outside the range, but I don't care about those. Have I? Okay, so I needed to fix that before. So let's Try again. Sorry, no, I need to, no, never mind, I don't need to. All right, let it finish calculating for a second, and then there we go. Hooray. Okay, and then let's just brick in my first temple. Okay, and then we'll copy this and go to the same space, CZ1. Boom. Okay, so much for my thought that I would try to get this done quickly. Ha 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 ha. Terrible. But now we're basically set. So I'm just going to name, I don't want to widen that one out that much. I'm just going to name this, I'll call it, I guess, T1 list. I'm going to name this T2 list. And I'm going to name this one T3 list. And then I'm definitely eliminated now, but now the payoff starts coming in. So here we're going to XLOOKUP this in, sorry, no, we'll VLOOKUP because I want to be able to just reference the whole range in T1 list, returning from column 3. That gives me the list of contents. Then we're going to TLOOKUP in table, which we name T. The animal is going to be this, and the terrain is going to be that list of terrain, but we're going to text split it into different pieces. And that gives me how long the frog takes to go through each one of those. And then we just sum it up. And we paste that in. And now we're off. And if you were worried about speed, you could, now that we've set these up, you could copy value paste this whole circular bit. But actually, I think the way I've set it up, once it's up and running, it's not going to be a big slowdown. So now you can see it's very quick. So the complication here is first, it's just they're all taking the one path, then they're all taking paths of the same length, and then they're all taking different unrestricted paths in Temple 1, but it's all the same basic idea. Then level 2, it just gets more complicated because they only turn once, but again, the kind of setup in principle handles every set of turns. And then here they can turn different numbers of times, but again, setup in principle has it all handled. So you kind of immediately clear the first 5 levels, and then level 6, just a slight additional complication. So we're going to Temple 3, but we're also now saying we escape through a different cell. So first I need to make a T3 list, and that'll give me the outbound journey. And then the easiest way to do this is actually just going to be, I can look up both of these. That'll return me 2 sets of things. Then I can combine them together. Text join with a dash, with a slash, sorry, that. So this will give me the set of terrain on each of these 2 starts. Combine them, split them out. That'll give me the full list of terrain we need to cover in both directions. And we're away. And then level 7, slightly more complicated. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's crack out the bonuses. In Temple 1, how often does the most frequent terrain type appear? The only kind of thing you have to worry a little bit about here is the definition of terrain type, because, and it mentions this here and it mentions it in the instructions, but there are lots of walls. That's not what we're counting. So we're only interested in the first 6. So these are considered terrain types, and these are considered other. And then we want the max of those. And it bothers me so much that it inserts the sheet name in this case, but never mind. Okay, how long will it take the eagle to reach all the golden idols associated with the unique starting locations in levels 1 and 2, excluding examples? So here, there's lots of shortcuts you can take with this. Sorry, VStack. Because, for example, you can note there's only one location used here. You can note that the eagle travels at the same speed over all terrain, so you really only need to count the number of squares, whatever, but none of it matters that much. So we're just going to VLOOKUP this in T1 list, returning from column 3. That's all the different places it has to go. Then we can, again, text join those into 1. Then we can text split them based on that. That'll give us that. And then we can TLOOKUP in table T, the animal is eagle, and the terrain is all of that. And then we just need to add it up. Sorry. No, I just realized I'm doing this doing this wrong because I'm answering the wrong question. I was working out the total time. Oh yeah, no, sorry, it is the total time. I was doing the right thing. Whoops. For some reason I had a brain fart and thought I was looking for the max or something. Okay, so then I think it's just this and some. Yep, that looks good. I'll just lock that. Got this, bring it up here. Okay, in Temple 1, find the path with the fewest number of terrain tiles. So this is a nice example of the benefits of this setup. So we're going to let paths be, take T1 list. I want the last column, and then I want to sort by paths, len paths. That'll put them in order, and then I just want the first one of those. That is the shortest path, and now the question is what's the longest amount of time it would take any animal to complete it. So we're going to TLOOKUP in T, we're going to look up the whole list of animals, and we're going to look up text split of this, and I need to make sure I split it into columns, which I think is what it does by default, so that's fine. And that'll give me each row is one animal's travel time. So then we just need to by row all of that, sum, and we're looking for the min, max, longest time it would take any animal. So max, all of that, and cut that and drop it in here, and hopefully that's right. Okay. Now, instead of escaping through a different path, assume all animals must escape through the path they came from. What's the fastest possible round trip time across all paths in Temple 3? So, so these are all the paths. And I guess I can just say to row my animals. Then we're going to sum TLOOKUP. So this is just our, use this often enough that I probably should have made it a lambda, but never mind. So we're going to look up in T this animal, oops, this animal, lock, and text split of this, lock, by slash. So that's how long it takes the eagle to do that path. Then we do the same thing for all the animals, all the paths. And then they're going to go back out the same way they came in, which means we want 2 times the min of this. And that is 5490. Okay, so finally then we got to deal with the complication that is level 5. So in level 5, most of the ways out of the central idle chamber close once you get in, and you can only go out through the opposite wall. So if you come in here, you got to go out through this wall. If you come in here, you got to go out through this wall. Slight complexity is that they don't, like a path that starts on the north side of the maze doesn't necessarily enter the idle chamber on the north side. So there are some that kind of snake around, and I think this one here, yeah, starts off on the right-hand side but enters on the north side. But anyway, so if you think about the last step on the thing, we've got row 42 and row 61 are the kind of start and end of the idle chamber, and column AP and column BI are the start and end of the idle chamber. So we just need to categorize our paths as where they go in and out. Now I'm going to steal an idea from Hadyn's walkthrough here, and rather than labeling them as like north, south, east, west, or top, bottom, up, down, whatever, I'm going to label them according to like I'm going to label them with opposite signed numbers for the different things. So we said 42 to 61 is, so I'm going to say FA 42. I'll just call that 1, meaning you go in the top. Then FA 61, these are the minus ones, you go out the bottom. And then what did I say was the other? I don't remember, but it'll be very obvious when I look at these. We've got AP and BI. So anything containing AP, we'll call that A2. And anything containing a BI, we'll call that a -2. Okay, so once we've got that, we can then work out the best way out from each of the four directions. So we've got -1, 1, -2, 2. We'll bring our animal list down here again, just to make it easier to reference. So then we're just going to say minifs of this, where this, oops, lock is this lock. So that is the fastest that an animal can get in or out, because it's symmetrical, through any of the four sides. And then we're basically ready to go. Actually, we can do the bonus question a little more quickly now. So the fastest round trip possible when you have to go in and out opposite walls is going to be the minimum of this plus the minimum of this, or the minimum of this plus the minimum of this. So it's going to be, so it's going to be the min of this plus this, or this plus this. That's the fastest round trip. And we're interested in the minimum of that over all the animals. So say min, hello, calculate. Go. And that'll tackle the bonus question. Oh, sorry, I somehow clicked on the picture, didn't want that. Lost the selection. Okay, and then finally level 7. So the only thing I need to add in here is just which wall are we trying to come out of. Sorry, Excel got grouchy for a second. Anyway, okay, so I need to, oh, it's got grouchy again. What the hell is going on here? Sorry, I had a fight with my video recorder there, but I think we're back. So XLOOKUP this in here. So these are the list of starting locations, and I want to know the corresponding wall you go in through. And the wall we go out of is going to be the opposite of that, so we'll put a minus there. Okay, so now I've got which wall I need to come out. It's just 2 TLOOKUPs. So we're going to TLOOKUP 1. Go get the table in a second, but what we're going to be looking up is the start cell and the animal. And the table we're going to be looking it up in is here. Start cells down the side, animals along the top, and I've got all the times in here. We'll lock that. And then the second TLOOKUP is going to be in this table, lock. We're going to be looking up the number, which I'll go get again in a second, and the animal, which is still in G289. And then where did I put the number? Let's see, in J289. And hopefully that'll work. And it does. So I think we're, yes, all done. All right, that's all I got for today. I've got, oh, look at this. May have changed to go away. Anyway, I've got a few more videos on the Vegas cases coming up soon. But that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.